Furthermore, the appointment was with effect from the 21st of January 2025. Just for information, Dr. Malema holds a Doctor of Philosophy in Peace and Coexistence from Hiroshima University in Japan. A master's degree in Public Environment Management from the University of Witwatersrand, South Africa. Master's degree in Politics and International Relations from the University of Trump, and a Bachelor of Arts in Social Science, double major Political Science and Public Administration from the University of Trump. Dr. Malema has also attended major courses, which among others include Certificate in Defense and Security Management from Zuzu University, Malawi, Full Academy of Young International Policy Analyst, FES, New York, Expert Training for Mediation Courses, Accord, Durban, South Africa, Applied Course in Conflict Transformation, Action Support Center, Johannesburg, Building a Strategy for Prevention of Violent Extremism, Virtual Learning Journey, jointly delivered by the Geneva Center for Security Policy, South African Defense and Security Management Network, SATSA, and Frederick Everett Sleeper. This moderated training, quality skills, and framework consultants. Malema is a seasoned professional with over 20 years of experience. He's a former political science lecturer at the University of Toronto, a former head of politics and diplomacy at the Southern African Development Community SADC, directorate of Organ on Politics, Defense and Security. He has also previously worked at the Mina newspaper as a reporter, radio journalist at English News Leader, and African Comprehensive HIV/AIDS Partnership, ACHA, as a communications officer. Honourable members, kindly join me in welcoming the Flag of the National Assembly, Dr. Gabriel Koitsi Malema. Honourable members, I'm further pleased to announce that Mayor Ms. Mapente Helen Salwan has been appointed as the Deputy Flag of the National Assembly of the Republic of Botswana. The provisions that I have outlined earlier were also followed in appointing her. She obtained ACCA in 2004 and had previously graduated with BCom Accounting from the University of Botswana in 1997. She is a trained public expenditure financial accountability assessor. Ms. Cassandra is a member in good standing for both the Association of Chartered Certified Accountants, ACCA, and Botswana Institute of Chartered Accountants, BICA. In 2015, she completed an executive leadership program delivered by a collaboration of the Swedish National Audit Office and the African Organization of English-speaking Supreme Audit Institutions, AFRO-SAI. Ms. Cassandra is a fellow Chartered Certified Accountant with extensive knowledge in financial management and oversight. Her career spans 26 years in financial management, audit and oversight fields in both government and state-owned enterprises. Some key positions she has held in her service span include Senior Assistant Auditor General at the Office of the Auditor General, Finance Manager at National Food Technology Research Center, Supervisor Corporate Accounts at Bank of Botswana, Auditor at Bank of Botswana, Senior Assistant Flag at the National Assembly of Botswana. She recently served as Deputy Permanent Secretary, Finance and Development in the Ministry of Child Welfare and Basic Education. Honourable members, please join me in welcoming Mayor Helen Salwan. Honourable members, I made receipt of an apology. Honourable Mswami is attending an international event, official event in New York. He will not be with us. So much, I'm in possession of also a sick leave for the Minister of Land and Agriculture, Honourable Dr. Makazi Chikobi. Let me appeal to you, honourable members, to keep him in your prayers. Honourable members, let us now start our business of today with testing of a paper. I understand that the Minister of Finance has a paper to take. Click.
Honorable Speaker, I'd like to present the Appropriation 2025-2026 Bill, 2025 Bill number 2 of 2025 for the first time.
Let the bill be read the first time. Appropriation 2025-2026 Bill 2025 Bill number 2 of 2025 first reading.
One for second reading, Honourable Minister.
Forthwith, Mr. Speaker.
Clerk.
Notice of motions and orders of the day. Appropriation 2025-2026 Bill 2025 Bill number 2 of 2025 second reading.
Order, Honourable Members. Honourable Members, the question is that the Appropriation 2025-2026 Bill 2025 be read a second time. Honourable Members, I will now call upon the Minister of Finance and His Honour the Vice President to present the budget speech. Let me indicate that, Honourable Members, the Minister shall not be interrupted in his presentation. The same with Leader of Opposition on Wednesday. I thought I should mention that let him flow with his speech. Your Honour the Vice President, you may approach the podium.
Mr. Speaker, allow me to present to the National Assembly the budget proposals for 2025-26 financial year. The 2025-26 financial year carries a particular significance as it marks the inaugural budget of the 30th Parliament, led by a new administration committed to transformation and placing citizens at the heart of its agenda. The upcoming financial year also heralds the dawn of the 12th National Development Plan, NDP 12. Mr. Speaker, it is therefore with a deep sense of responsibility and humility that I rise to deliver my first budget speech as Minister of Finance under the new government. This moment resonates with profound personal meaning as I stand at this podium, a space filled with the echoes of those who have come before me, entrusted with the sacred duty of steering our nation's economic destiny. Mr. Speaker, permit me a moment of solemn acknowledgement of all former ministers of finance for their contributions and their service. And in a special way, I wish to recognize 3 of these distinguished leaders who not only held this vital portfolio, but also served as my personal mentors, being the 2 former presidents, Sir Kitumile Masire and President Festus Mogae, as well as my late father, Balezi Khaolate. Their guidance and example continue to inspire my own sense of duty and responsibility. And under the mantle of the new administration of the New Botswana, led by President Advocate Duma Gideon Boko, I find myself deeply humbled to carry forward a collective legacy that transcends individuals and speaks to an enduring trust and hope of a nation. Mr. Speaker, the moment that our nation now finds itself is eloquently captured in Let's Sitola's adaptation of Lao Tzu's corpus, and I quote, "If you march to the beat of your heart and dance to the rhythm of your own song, you will dance dances that no one has ever danced before, and you will sing songs that no one has ever heard before." Mr. Speaker, here and now, more than 58 years since the founders of our republic took office and experimented with a modern democratic system, can our nation confidently pronounce that we as a nation have passed the first real test of our experiment, that ours is a system of the people, for the people, by the people. Mr. Speaker, this past spring, swaths of our citizens, men and women of diverse social and cultural backgrounds, joined long queues in the scorching sun of our arid circumstances to cast a ballot to decide on whether to retain the old party that had until then led our nation or elect a new government. This generation, young and old, united in spirit to claim something new, something special, a path of hope that we can all call our own. Behold, something new is taking root, something special, a government that belongs to the people, a government of the people, the government for the people. Mr. Speaker, this is our government, all of us. We must build our own nation together in our own way. We must build our economy together in our own way. We must rise and fall together in our own way. We must dance the dances that no one has ever seen and sing the songs together that no one has ever heard. Mr. Speaker, in the course of the preparation of the 2025-26 budget, we consulted different stakeholders, and in the process, I discovered a profound truth, that the men and women of this country, young and old, possess a clear vision of the steps necessary to propel illuminate the path we must tread to achieve greater heights and realize our shared aspirations. To those of us with the privilege to lead, we are no more than painters on an assignment to paint a canvas, transcribing a vision of the people into reality. This assignment must pursue in its own way, and like a dance never danced before and a song that never has been sung before. Mr. Speaker, we have a collective responsibility to not only chart a course for our nation's economic recovery, but also restore the trust and faith that our people have in their government. The new Botswana is determined to become the best managed country on the African continent, a paragon of unity, of fairness, and prosperity on the African continent. Mr. Speaker, I stand by my December 24 Parliament statement on public finances. I quote, "The state of our public finances by any standards is in an undesirable place," close quote. I highlighted the economy's severe fiscal constraints, our declining government revenues, as well as our slow and jobless growth. To be clear, we inherited a government machinery plagued by deeply entrenched systemic inefficiencies that have crippled progress and development. Mr. Speaker, it is no secret that the realities of our times are heart-wrenching. There is a persisting unemployment crisis, with many graduates failing to secure meaningful occupations for years upon years. Even many of the citizens that are employed work without much pay and often under stringent conditions. And despite our collective resources, abject poverty continues to ravage in both the ghettos and the forgotten places of our nation. We are almost like that nation which Dickens describes. I quote, "We had everything before us. We had nothing before us," close quote. Mr. Speaker, our country is regressing on many fronts, including health and education outcomes. Corruption has become endemic with all its corrosive and cancerous manifestations, an impediment to the achievement of the lofty goals of our people. Yet, despite this bleak picture, Mr. Speaker, I have a hope. I have hope. I have a hope in me, a hope that is rising like a phoenix. Mr. Speaker, we in the new Botswana have the hope that collectively we will turn the tide. Mr. Speaker, the new administration has established a dedicated Ministry of Youth and Gender Affairs, in part to ensure that the gender portfolio receives the attention that it deserves. This is a response to a national outcry sparked by persistent gender inequalities that prevail in our society, that hinders inclusive socio-economic development and the full enjoyment of human rights. Mr. Speaker, the phenomena of gender-based violence here in Botswana is a blight against which we must now all commit. Our dikhosi, in particular, have pledged to play a key role to assist, galvanize all our citizens and stakeholders towards building a nation that possesses the character of balance and fairness. This administration intends to intensify efforts for gender mainstreaming across all sectors, across all institutions, and institutionalize gender-responsive budgeting to ensure that priority areas such as GBV are addressed through adequate resourcing. Mr. Speaker, the growing occurrence and escalating severity of natural disasters and pandemics serve as a stark reminder that these challenges are no longer exceptions, but have become an enduring reality of our time. Natural disasters damage property and infrastructure. They disrupt lives, they fracture communities, and leave families grappling with loss and uncertainty. The frequency and quantum of natural disasters pose a new and pronounced risk that threatens our social and economic gains. In a sense, natural disasters are the new normal. For this reason, the administration is reviewing the National Policy on Disaster Management of 1996 to ensure alignment with emerging challenges and best practices. The draft policy is expected to be brought to Parliament before the end of the financial year 25-26. Mr. Speaker, in recent years, there has been a surge in the misuse of public office for personal gain. This is evident in our deteriorating scores on the Corruption Perceptions Index. The data shows that our ratings declined from a score of 6.5 in 2012 to 6.1 in 2019. And most recent figures show a further drop and significant decline in rankings in space of 1 year, from a score of 6 in 2022 to 5.9 in 2023. Mr. Speaker, this culture of corruption, if left unattended, is certain to derail and undermine all efforts to build an inclusive and deep economy. If we fail to combine forces as a people, as government and as leaders, this culture of corruption, we are certain to fail as a nation. We will fail in the delivery of essential services that improve the quality of lives for our people if we do not stand up and stand together against this corruption. Mr. Speaker, our conviction is that a corruption-free culture will save us not $1 billion, but billions of pulas every year. This is why an array of efforts are already underway to review our current procurement model, enhance transparency in our system, support the free press, as well as revise and approve the draft National Anti-Corruption Policy. With these initiatives, we hope to protect whistleblowers. We hope to strengthen institutions. We hope to enhance integrity and accountability. It is pleasing, Mr. Speaker, that so many citizens, more than this country has ever seen before, are coming forward to blow a whistle and to guide on how best to neutralize this culture of corruption. Building an inclusive and deep economy. Mr. Speaker, in order to rebuild this economy, we will implement the required changes through 4 interlinked strategic phases. These 4 phases are: first, we must be halting the financial hemorrhaging in government. And second, we must be stabilizing and preparing for the takeoff. Thirdly, we must be taking the initial tangible steps of change. And finally, we should be building the new Botswana. Phase 1, halting the financial hemorrhaging in our government system. Mr. Speaker, in this initial phase of our reform agenda, we will direct our focus towards 3 critical areas, being building government systems, strengthening oversight institutions, and facilitating the private sector and our society. I start with the government systems, building government systems. Mr. Speaker, the state of our public financial management systems, practices, and processes has deteriorated over the years. This ailment is evident in the systems of prioritization of development projects, the systems of procurement, the systems of implementation of potentially game-changing mega projects, the systems for monitoring of projects, the systems for transparent payments, and the systems for informed and fair economic decision-making. This dysfunctionality has contributed, Mr. Speaker, to persistent financial losses in recent years and manifested in a culture of regular supplementary budget requests. Mr. Speaker, To correct this situation, we will, in the immediate term, repair and restore discipline in the process of supplementary budgets. Going forward, supplementary budget requests, if any, will strictly cater for unforeseen requirements or emergencies, and that any such requests will be catered for by budget cuts in other parts of the existing budget. This approach will ensure that we are not merely diverting taxpayer funds into a black hole, but instead creating tangible value for every pula expended. Mr. Speaker, it has further been observed that there is a failure by some procuring entities to observe public procurement legislation requirements. The government has made an undertaking to ensure timely payment of supplies to protect and nurture local businesses. Mr. Speaker, the new administration is determined to cultivate a new culture, a culture of fairness, a culture of diligence, a culture of agile government, a culture of urgency, a culture of wealth creation, a culture of innovation, a culture of speed, a culture of service, and a culture of collective effort. This new culture has inspired work that has already started around execution and an execution plan towards an initiative to mobilize resources by way of the new efficiency in process within the government system. Mr. Speaker, the Efficiency in Process initiative will drive revenue collection across ministries and departments and agencies by comprehensively overhauling guidelines of fees and levies across government services. We will reconfigure categories of services. We will deploy potent technologies for collection, as well as build capacity and capabilities in the effective offer of these services. Mr. Speaker, we expect that a comprehensively modernized and structured government and local government services ecosystem, including fees for work permits, visas, property taxes, licenses, and a raft of other services, should add significant amounts to our national coffers. The Efficiency in Process initiative, Mr. Speaker, will address existing revenue leakages across all sectors of the economy. Mr. Speaker, examples of these financial leakages include significant amounts owed to local government authorities, which currently stand at more than 700 million in property rates and more than 27 million in service levies. Mr. Speaker, their revenue collection remains inefficient, with an average collection rate of 56% of the target over the 2023, 2024, and 2024 to 2025 financial years. Mr. Speaker, other losses emanate from mismanagement of contracts, including government leasing out of its land and facilities to companies or to private individuals. Further, evidence shows that government collected an average of 119 million over 2022-23 and 23-24 financial years against the 210 million targeted revenues of park entry fees due to unavailability of enablers such as point-of-sale machines, connectivity, and manpower shortages. Mr. Speaker, similarly, government experiences leakages through lapses in controls, resulting in salary overpayments, which for the financial years ending March 21 and 22 recorded more than 27 million on average. The aforementioned efficiency in process initiative will address these leakages and drive revenue maximization across MDAs, meaning ministries, departments, and agencies. I turn to strengthening of oversight institutions. Mr. Speaker, we are determined that the Public Procurement Regulatory Authority, PPRA, has not been able to fully execute its essential role. And in the new Botswana, we view this institution as a strategic state-owned enterprise with a key role in promoting fairness and transparency in government procurement. We are advancing our plan to strengthen the procurement model. We are also creating seamless access to procurement opportunities through development of the Public Procurement Data Portal. This data portal will serve as a centralized real-time data sharing platform for the management and dissemination of procurement information, ensuring its accessibility to all stakeholders. Mr. Speaker, as part of revitalizing PPRA towards pursuing its legislative mandate, we have already facilitated the commencement of their work, along with other oversight institutions, towards the conduct of a comprehensive audit of the projects under the development manager model, the central medical stores, as well as other infrastructure projects at key state-owned enterprises. These audits will be carried out in two phases. The first phase will focus on value for money, and on procurement processes and procedures, as well as on legal compliance. The second phase, Mr. Speaker, will discern the areas that require more specialized financial forensic audit. These audits will become a culture in government and will extend to other oversight bodies, including the Directorate of Corruption and Economic Crime, the Office of Auditor General, Public Enterprises Evaluation and Privatization Agency, and the Botswana Accountancy Oversight Authority. All of this to ensure a robust governance framework that safeguards public resources. Mr. Speaker, the new approach is a response to the procurement practice which by all accounts has been plagued by opaqueness, unfair practice, financial leakages, and signs of systemic corruption. Private sector and society. Mr. Speaker, we are determined to build an economy in which every citizen enjoys fair access to opportunity. The dominance of few players in some industries exposes inefficiencies that stifle competition and innovation. Preliminary evidence indicates that citizens are encountering artificial barriers, barriers that impede their access to lucrative sectors such as poultry, automobile, retail, franchising, and distribution businesses as examples. So, Mr. Speaker, they are cumbersome and protracted regulatory processes that continue to create significant delays for businesses, hindering the swift establishment of new enterprises, slowing expansion of existing ones, and stifling innovation. For instance, a supermarket must obtain approximately 6 different licenses, each requiring separate applications at multiple offices. Mr. Speaker, in the new Botswana, we are committed to dismantling these barriers. We are committed to dismantling these barriers and fostering an inclusive environment where ordinary citizens can actively participate and thrive within all industries. As a government rooted in the principle of fairness, we are going to strengthen institutions responsible for licensing and regulatory oversight to address structural and market barriers. Mr. Speaker, government is deeply committed to enhancing consultation with all stakeholders, recognizing the meaningful dialogue and collaboration that is essential for effective policy making. We are open-minded and willing to take guidance on how best to engage. This inclusive approach is necessary to ensure that all our policies are responsive, equitable, and aligned with the needs and aspirations of all sectors of our society. Phase 2 of our work is stabilization and preparation for the takeoff. Mr. Speaker, in this critical phase, our focus is clear. We will lay a firm foundation. We will mend what is broken and ensure that government machinery operates with efficiency, responsiveness, integrity, and is held accountable for all its actions. One of the observed challenges hindering effective execution for change in Botswana is the speed and alignment with which our laws are amended to pave way for effective execution of measures pronounced by the government. Mr. Speaker, we will address this challenge by reviewing the current approach and benchmarking on best practices from countries such as Mauritius. In Mauritius, Mr. Speaker, every year, after the national budget is presented in Parliament, the Finance Miscellaneous Provisions Bill is tabled and as an instrument to, I quote, provide the implementation of measures announced by the government and for matters connected, consequential and incidental thereto, close quote. The essence of the bill, Mr. Speaker, is such that every project, every reform measure would immediately be facilitated by amendment of all the laws that enable that reform to effectively take effect. Mr. Speaker, as the new administration, we have set ourselves a very bold objective of facilitating international investment in mega transformational projects with the potential to create economic value and dilute the country's overdependence on diamonds. We will act decisively to restructure our approach ensuring a more effective and strategic framework for investment promotion, moving away from the current fragmented approach, which leads to potentially high-impact investors being subject to high level of red tape. Mr. Speaker, as we reimagine our economic landscape and chart the path towards a modern and globally competitive Botswana, we recognize the importance of forging partnerships with investors who share our long-term values and our long-term vision. And to this end, we have started establishing clear requirements and a compliance framework to define the characteristics of an ideal partner and an ideal investor for the new Botswana. We intend to gravitate towards partners who possess specific attributes that the President is passionate about. Attributes that include substantial financial resources and patient capital. We are looking for partners who prioritize long-term investments over quick returns. Partners with deep insight and intellectual property. Partners that share long-term vision that is aligned and aligns seamlessly with Botswana's strategic objectives. Mr. Speaker, by carefully selecting partners according to this framework, we hope to cultivate a dynamic investment landscape that propels our nation towards prosperity while safeguarding our fiscal interests. Mr. Speaker, a landmark achievement was the successful conclusion of negotiations with the BS Group. This resulting in an enhanced rough diamond sales agreement and an extension of the mining licenses beyond 2029. The conclusion of these negotiations within 100 days of this administration goes a long way to rebuilding market confidence and trust in this government's efficiency, in this government's agility, in this government's responsiveness in creating partnerships and doing business environment. This agreement ensures greater value retention for Botswana and strengthens our position as a global leader in the diamond industry. State-owned enterprises. Mr. Speaker, it is high priority in our agenda to ensure value for every pula allocated to our state-owned enterprises. This by transforming them into high-performance organizations, organizations that fully deliver on their mandates. We intend to pay delicate and special attention to our state-owned enterprises, with a view to bring out the best in them and to use them as lever to significantly reduce costs of doing business in the new Botswana. We are also determined to transform our state-owned enterprises into engines of wealth creation for the larger population by reconfiguring and upscaling some of them into becoming truly global players. Our posture also leans towards curtailing gross wastage, duplication that takes place at some of these enterprises. Mr. Speaker, some of these state-owned enterprises have operated without chief executive officers for upwards of 5 years. Some have had no boards and many operated on partial boards. The neglect and sometimes outright callous mismanagement of these enterprises by political principles has cultivated a culture of wastage and stagnation. We are determined, Mr. Speaker, to fan the embers for a new progressive culture, a culture of good governance, a culture of integrity, a culture of efficiency, a culture of effectiveness, and a culture of excellence. The new government has wasted no time and has already commenced work to revitalize state-owned enterprises based on this clear vision. Mr. Speaker, we are seized with a process to overhaul our power sector's legislative framework, to separate power generation from power transmission, and repurpose the Botswana Power Corporation in light of the changed ecosystem. Mr. Speaker, farmers from across this country have come forward. They have come forward with proposals to reimagine, to refocus, and reposition the Botswana Agricultural Marketing Board in order to drive an effective, enabling model and facilitate equitable and fair market access for all farmers in our country. We will facilitate the repurposing of Botswana Agricultural Marketing Board. Mr. Speaker, we are also determined to stabilize the Botswana Meat Commission, first by putting in place strong management, and later by securing investment partnerships that will revitalize the Commission to become a global player along other players in the reconfigured meat value chain of the new Botswana. This will allow the BMC to operate competitively in the new meat industry ecosystem. Mr. Speaker, we are proceeding to hoist the Botswana Vaccine Institute to new global heights. The concept of the Botswana Vaccine Institute, a facility and operation that over the years has, in partnership with Mirror of France, mastered the art of research and development of vaccines. They have over the years developed capacity, they have developed capabilities in manufacturing and capabilities in the export of medicines. The time has now come, Mr. Speaker, to fundamentally put to bear these capabilities by significantly scaling up production and possibly augmenting product diversity for export. The work is already ongoing to facilitate this ambition. Our action entails a pursuit of a judicious blend of funding, judicious blend of management and market partnerships, as well as wise collaborations. Mr. Speaker, the manner that our public sector funds enterprises or funds victims of road accidents or funds medical care or funds pensions or provides for social services or caters for people living with disabilities is both inefficient and ineffective. We are probing and considering options for a complete overhaul of our funding model towards a more comprehensive system for a national health insurance and targeted social interventions. The new model will reimagine the current arrangements, even at the Citizen Entrepreneurial Development Agency, Motor Vehicle Accident Fund, the BDC, and other institutions. Mr. Speaker, the administration is currently considering proposals for a self-funding mega project, the construction and development of a rail corridor linking Namibia and Botswana's western Copper Belt region through Ghanzi. Mr. Speaker, our existing rail infrastructure is neither adequate nor up to standard, and even so, not fully utilized or optimized. And for this reason, the new administration is considering options for a rail operational model best suited for our circumstances. All options being considered will require changes to the current legislation on the role of Botswana Railways. Mr. Speaker, we have started a process to persistently facilitate the Botswana Unified Revenue Service, BERS, to unlock its revenue collection potential, aiming to surpass annual average 26 billion collection in non-mineral and non-SACU revenue achieved over the past 5 years. A well-managed and efficient BERS can boost revenues for this country, revenue collection efficiency, by at least 30 to 40% within the next 5 years. Mr. Speaker, we are committed to building a robust financial system that nurtures homegrown financial institutions which may subsequently become multinationals. We will reimagine the role and structure of our state-owned enterprises, financial state-owned enterprises, in which government is a major stakeholder, with consideration given to potential measures in the upcoming financial year. Phase 3, Mr. Speaker, initial tangible steps of change, seeds of diversification, if you like. Mr. Speaker, the level of unemployment, particularly among the youth in our country, is not just a statistic, but a stark reflection of untapped potential and unfulfilled dreams. In the pursuit of immediate impact, we will prioritize the execution of certain low-hanging fruits that hold the potential to generate meaningful employment in the upcoming financial year. Mr. Speaker, Botswana's reliance on diamond revenues has been both a strength and a vulnerability. To secure Botswana's future, we must diversify our economy by expanding key sectors such as tourism, agriculture, manufacturing, energy, information technology, the creative economy, and healthcare. A central pillar of this strategy is the diversification of the mining sector and an aggressive drive for mineral beneficiation. To this end, Kwematau Copper Mine in Northwest District, near Tsao, where I was at Tirolo Sechava, is embarking on an expansion exercise to ramp up production from the current 60,000 tons of copper to at least 130,000 tons. This expansion is anticipated to increase the labor force from the current 2,000 to 4,000 employees. Another noticeable progress is the Menzi Battery Metals, which has been granted a mining license to exploit battery-grade manganese at Kwakwe Hills near Kanye, and they are currently finalizing the establishment of the processing plant. Let me say a little bit more about the energy sector, Mr. Speaker, as a key driver of diversification. Mr. Speaker, another important aspect of our diversification drive is the modernization of the power sector, with a strategic shift towards a solar-dominated energy industry. This will be coupled with the unbundling of power generation, transmission, and related services, a move designed to enhance efficiency, competition, and investment in this sector. This approach, Mr. Speaker, will enable Botswana to scale up electricity production to at least 8,000 megawatts within 4 years, laying the foundation for a more sustainable and competitive energy landscape. It is a decisive step towards fulfilling our commitment as the new administration of reducing electricity costs for our people and for business by 30%, easing the financial burden on all our people and businesses alike. Mr. Speaker, beyond domestic benefits, this initiative positions Botswana as a major regional electricity exporter, strengthening our economic resilience and regional influence. A stable, cost-effective power supply will not only attract investment, but also enhance Botswana's appeal as a thriving hub for business and a desirable place to live in. Mr. Speaker, to cater for the national baseload power requirements, a 600 megawatts Jindal coal-fired power plant and Mamabula has already commenced construction of the pre-project's activities. Other projects which are still under procurement are 200 megawatts concentrated solar power in Maung, 100 megawatts solar PV in Jwaneng, 100 megawatts solar PV, and 100 megawatts wind power in Letlhakane. These projects are expected to create business opportunities and jobs for our people, as well as reduce energy costs in the long run, making energy more accessible and affordable for all our people. Mr. Speaker, maybe let me say a little bit about execution of mega projects. This is a must for true transformation. Mr. Speaker, for years, Botswana has faced significant challenges in executing mega infrastructure projects, largely due to lack of technical and operational capacity. In some cases, questionable contract awards, inflated costs, and poor oversight have raised concerns about corrupt practices and mismanagement, further compounding the infrastructure deficit. The new government is intensifying efforts to bridge Botswana's critical infrastructure gaps by ramping up capacity to mechanize and execute mega projects such as rail, road networks, power and water, information and communication technology infrastructure. I am pleased to inform you that in the coming financial year, we will commence execution of meticulously structured mega infrastructure projects. Crafted in collaboration with reputable global investors, including strategic and game-changing projects such as the Chobe Zambezi Water Transfer Scheme. This project has the potential to enhance water security, job creation, agricultural expansion, food security, and drive industrial growth, among many other things. Mr. Speaker, I would like to say a little bit about housing. Mr. Speaker, the government of Botswana reaffirms its commitment to ensuring access to shelter as a fundamental human right. The government is reimagining the current low-income housing program in order to destigmatize and align it to national priorities. The reimagined program will reflect government's focus on inclusivity and its commitment to providing dignified living conditions for all our people. Additionally, the program will be revamped to modernize housing designs, ensuring that they are in line with current trends and best practices in the housing sector. Mr. Speaker, in addition, the Botswana Savings Bank is preparing to launch a proof of concept designed to give opportunity to an ordinary Botswana who owns land but lacks the means to develop it. This initiative forms part of our broader commitment to construct 100,000 housing units within the new government's 5-year term, ensuring that more citizens have access to quality housing. From the security guard to the roadside vendor, the bus conductor, the headsman, the overburdened breadwinner, it opens doors to home ownership that once seemed out of reach. Through this initiative, they can secure a loan, attract a reliable talent, access professional construction services, and eventually own a valuable asset. At its heart, this program reflects a deeper philosophy that every individual, no matter their situation in life, deserves the dignity of a home and the opportunity to build a future. By removing barriers to housing, the government seeks to turn dreams into reality, creating a society where hope is not a privilege, but a shared promise. Let me talk a little bit about the new Botswana Phase 4, Mr. Speaker. Sovereign Wealth Fund. Mr. Speaker, we are committed to ensuring long-term macroeconomic stability and fostering intergenerational equity by preserving sufficient assets and wealth for future generations. To achieve this, we will redesign our macroeconomic policy framework to safeguard the needs of future generations by ensuring that they benefit from our natural resource wealth. Efforts are already underway to create a newly fully fledged sovereign wealth fund of Botswana. This fund will invest in sustainable domestic and foreign assets across various industries, thereby transforming resource wealth into financial wealth. The fund will help cushion against unforeseen disasters, as well as create wealth for current and future generations. The fund will also enable future generations to have a foundation to realize their own ambitions. Mr. Speaker, let me say a little bit about what we call National Fund of Funds, to allocate resources strategically, targeting priority sectors in line with our national development objectives, and also allowing disruptors and innovators, including in the creative industry, access to funding. This initiative will mark a significant shift in our approach to economic development, fostering an environment where entrepreneurship thrives and where our investments yield maximum returns in terms of job creation, growth, and innovation. I will say a little bit, Mr. Speaker, about the creative industry. Mr. Speaker, the creative industry is a driver of economic growth, is a driver of social preservation and social transformation. It also has the power to generate employment. It has the power to foster innovation, the power to